The League of Women Voters Forum for the first and third council wards, and there is an error in your program. It's not second ward candidates, it's third ward candidates. So that was my error. So my name's Jane Hardy. I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters. This is my co-president, Nancy Smith, and our moderator is Mr. Dick Hawkins, who will introduce the candidates. The League of Women Voters has been around since 1920, and we work to provide information about candidates and issues and to promote citizen participation in government. And it's wonderful to see such a great turnout. This makes us very happy, so we thank you for coming. And we also thank the 5 candidates for their willingness to serve the public and get involved. So with that note, I'm going to turn the program over to Nancy Smith.
We have a few little rules, and we would like you, first of all, please turn off your cell phones. I know some of you have them on. We all do. I got to turn mine off too. That's number one. The second, we ask that you take no photographs and do no recording with your cell phones or any other device you may have here during the proceedings. We also ask that you not engage in any form of demonstration. If you have a candidate who says something and you want to applaud, please save that. The problem is that when you do that, you take away from their time, and they will be timed. Our 2 timers are right here at the front with big signs, and you do not want to hurt your candidate. So at the end, we will have a round of applause for the participation of those who are here. We'd prefer that no political information be distributed in the hall. If you have it, please distribute it outside, downstairs in the lobby or outside the hall. And I want to recognize James Egan, who is doing, I misidentified him the other night, and that was my mistake. James is doing the filming for our public access channel, and this will be shown in its entirety on that channel once they get it up. And we appreciate him. He does this everywhere, and he's a great tech, and we really appreciate his help. And one commercial. On Saturday morning, this coming Saturday morning, in this place at 10 o'clock, Dr. Karen Couch is going to present a program that the League has organized. And if you care about the schools in this county, you might be interested in joining us for that event. She's going to talk about what she sees as the problems for the school and what she plans, her vision for the school system in Kent County. And now, Mr. Hawkins. Oh, the membership that we have in the lobby. For those of you who might be interested in joining the League, we'd be delighted to have you join us. There will be members in the lobby on your way out the door. They can give you an application for membership. And if you have any suggestions about a program you would like to see the League produce for the county's benefit, talk to someone, and most of our League members tonight are identified with badges. Talk to them about it, and we'll see if we can help you out. And now I'm turning the program over to Dick Hawkins.
Thank you, Nancy. Welcome, everybody. Let me just briefly go over how we're going to run this, and then we'll get right into it. There's one Chestertown opening for both Ward 1 and Ward 3. And these are the candidates for those openings. In the Ward 1, there's 2 candidates running, Jim Gatto, who's the incumbent, and Liz Gross, who's running also. In Ward 3, there is 3 candidates running for the ward seat, for the 1 ward seat, Mabel Mumford-Potts, who's the incumbent, Sam Shogay, and Alex Smolens. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, and the order was determined by picking sticks. And the timers will time them. We're going to keep pretty much to that time also to let the candidates know. At the end of the opening statements, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer question 1, which is in your program. And the candidate who went first in the opening statements will go last in the round of answering question 1, and question 2 will follow the same format. At the end of question 2, we'll open the floor to questions from the audience. And here, what we'd like you to do, if you have a question, just raise your hand and somebody probably Nancy, will give you the microphone. This is kind of like a talking stick. If you have the microphone, you can talk, but if you don't have the microphone, you can't talk. So, okay, that's the rule. And you'll have, if you've got the microphone, you'll have 60 seconds, 1 minute, to ask your question. At the end of that, you can ask you can ask the question to all the candidates or any one candidate. And the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to your question. That's where we're going to run it. At the end of the questions, or roughly 25 minutes, whichever comes first, each candidate will have 3 minutes to give a closing statement. Any questions from the candidates, how we're going to run this? Any questions from the floor? Okay, let's get going. As the sticks determined, Mr. Gatto will have the first opening statement.
I'm Jim Gatto. I'm currently serving as the First Ward Councilperson. I am a graduate architect from Oklahoma State University. I have my master's from the University of Virginia, and I have a certificate program from Harvard on community finance. I was a certified economic development person. I also worked with local communities on their various development projects. I started off my career with the state of Maryland as regional planner for the Upper Shore. At that time, we were developing zoning ordinances for all the communities and municipalities and counties. I worked approximately 8 years in that capacity, moved over to community development, where I worked with housing and urban development projects through the Upper Shore and the state of Maryland. Eventually moving over to the Department of Economic Development, where I received my Certified Economic Development certification. I worked with companies of all sizes. I worked with small companies as an advisor. I eventually took the role of director of the Community Financing Program at the Department of Economic Development. The Community Financing Division financed projects of all municipalities and all counties in the state of Maryland, approximately $50 million budget. So I got to see how and what the various programs, including the federal programs, married to each other and how they worked hand in hand. It gave me a lot of experience statewide and a lot of experience in municipal government. And that's what I brought to the table as first council person in the Ward 1.
Thank you. I should have looked at my notes. If you're in Chestertown in Ward 1 or Ward 3, you vote in the firehouse. That's just informational for you. Second opening statement is Mr. Shoge.
Good evening. I'm Sam Shoge, and I'm running for Chestertown Town Council because I genuinely love this community. I love my hometown. This is the only place I know. I grew up here. I went to all of the schools here, starting with daycare at the elementary school, and of course progressed all the way and graduated from Kent County High School now. I graduated from Elon University down in North Carolina, so I did leave for a little bit, but I came back to Chestertown because I truly wanted to make a positive difference in my community. Now, in terms of just my overall qualifications for town council, I'm currently on the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission is responsible for reviewing site plans for any new development for Chestertown. So any developer who comes in and wants to build a subdivision or they want to build an office, they come through the Planning Commission. And currently, under Chris Serino's leadership, the Planning Commission is revising the Chestertown Comprehensive Plan, which is essentially a blueprint for how Chestertown is going to develop and how Chestertown is going to grow. So we are currently revising that. The updated version is going to be submitted to the town council and the residents for approval in just a couple of months. And I also have a degree in environmental studies from Elon University, and I think that is so important, especially as a community, because we place so much value on our natural resources. And one of my goals as a potential council person is to work very collaboratively with the Chester River Association, which I am currently volunteering for, and other stakeholders to make sure that we preserve the Chester River and keep it pristine, because it is such a value to this community.
Thank you. The next opening statement is Ms. Mumford-Pause.
Oh, all right. Who am I? I am Mabel Mumford-Pouts, your representative for the 3rd Ward of the town of Chestertown. And where is the 3rd Ward? It is Radcliffe on the west side of Kent Street, Radcliffe Housing Development, Mount Vernon to Campus Avenue to College Avenue, and all of the area from in town, Chestertown, to Route 514, better known as Flatland Road. That goes for my ward all the way to Stockton Start Road, something probably many of you don't even know exists. That includes the industrial area for me, residential areas, apartments, and businesses throughout this area. My preparation for representing the residents in the 3rd Ward in the town of Chestertown. Besides being a resident for many years, I have studied at Wesley College, Dover, Delaware in paralegal studies and administrative studies. Chesapeake College in state and local government, University of Maryland. I'm a graduate of the Academic of Excellence, which is put on by the Maryland Municipal League, and that's what we do when we leave here and go to workshops in Ocean City and all throughout the state. And I've been from Frostburg, Cumberland, all the way down the shore to Baltimore, to Ocean City, Cambridge, Salisbury. Over the years, we have been located in many places, especially for our fall workshops. I worked for and with the Department of Physical Education and Athletics at Washington College for 36 years, so I believe I know a few people in and out of the city of Chestertown. To expand my knowledge of town government, I filed for office with Maryland Municipal League as a member of the Board of Directors, which I have been able to hold for many years.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
The next opening statement is Ms. Gross.
Thank you, Dick, and thank you everyone for coming. Good evening. Unlike Sam here, I can't claim to be a lifelong resident of Chestertown. My husband and I have lived here for almost 15 years, always in the 1st Ward, but I can claim that I love this town as much as anybody else in this room. I've been involved in lots of local activities. As soon as we moved here, I began singing with the Chester River Chorale, and I became its treasurer and a board member. I've served as treasurer of the Prince Theater, now the Garfield Center, and I am currently treasurer of the National Music Festival, a wonderful organization that is bringing lots of people here to Chestertown each June. 11 years ago, with a couple of other ladies, I helped to create a county-wide food operation that rescues perishable food from the Acme Market nearly every day with teams of volunteers who take it to churches and agencies throughout Kent County who distribute food for the needy. And every year, for 11 years, we've rescued more than 40 tons of food that would otherwise go to the dump. In my career, I spent the entire time in the nonprofit sector, and I still work there part-time for an organization with a budget of $2 million, personally managing grants from $40,000 to over $500,000 every year, and all the day-to-day financial operations of that organization. We need somebody on the town council who understands and can read and analyze complex financial reports and budgets. I've made it a point to study the budget and the annual audit, and I'm impressed with our town's financial management. In my position as director of a research organization, I had to build teams of experts to tackle complex problems, and I will bring those analytical skills. I know what it needs to get them solved, and I will bring those analytical skills to town council if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last opening statement is Mr. Smolens.
My name is Alex Smolens. I'm a small business owner in Chestertown. I own Atlantic Computer Systems on the Washington Square Shopping Center. I believe I'm unique in that I'm the only business owner running for town council. If you pay attention to the race, you'll see that the economy is on everybody's minds, whether it be filling existing storefronts, how to add new business, attract new people to live here. It's one of those things that everybody really has to focus on. I graduated from Kent County High School in 2000 and moved to Baltimore, attended Goucher College to pursue a degree in public policy. I came back to work for Bay Broadband Communications. I know many of you remember Bay Broadband. It was a really interesting concept as far as a company goes, and I believe that as a company, they really proved the need for high-speed communications infrastructure in this town. Without Bay Broadband, I don't think Verizon, Charter, which became Atlantic Broadband, would have really invested in the town or in the county. That sort of thing has served all of the businesses, all of the local residents extremely well. We've seen businesses expand, we've seen businesses grow, we've seen new businesses open up, and I think we can really point the finger at high-speed communications. I also volunteer on the board of directors for Kent Youth. I am the communications director out there. We focus on at-risk youth, so going through taking kids out of any stage of the judicial system and bringing them into the local school system, and hopefully preventing them from re-entering the judicial system later in life. As town councilman, I would like to really focus on, again, the economy, the quality of life that's associated with bringing people here to work at local businesses, open business, as well as retaining the businesses that we have.
Thank you. We'll now go into responses for question 1. I'm going to read it just once, and all the candidates can respond to it. In 1 or 2 sentences, describe your vision for Chestertown in the year 2020. Then name 3 actions or policies you would undertake to help make this vision a reality. And we'll start with you, Mr. Gatto. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with you, Mr. Smolens.
Okay. My vision for Chestertown in 2020 would be at least a 75 to 80% retention rate of Washington College graduates. Every year, Washington College graduates very smart, very qualified individuals, and I would love to see them stay here, open a business, work for local corporations, work for local companies, or again, as I said, start their own. I would like to see the sidewalks obviously finished on Flatland Road, as well as on Cannon Street. And I would like to see the quality of life that the people who would assumedly stay here would be accustomed to or would expect elsewhere. Again, things like the local playgrounds, the sidewalks, street cleaning further down High Street than where it currently stops. So all around sort of a general improvement, not only of Chestertown, but the 3rd Ward. In order to get to that point, we need to go through and take a look at our town ordinances and how they affect business and how they affect residents. We need to recognize that the historic district and the commercial district are 2 very different places. We need to recognize that the people who live out of town in some place like Coventry Farms are going to have different property needs than the people who live downtown. We also need to go through and make sure that the other things that I spoke about, the sidewalks, the playgrounds, the quality of education, not having to send your children to Wharton to go to elementary school, all of those things that sort of make you shrug your shoulders need to be addressed. So.
Thank you. Mr. Gatto?
I'm going to come back up here.
Back here.
Thank you. Chestertown in 2020. All of us know Chestertown moves with great speed. So my fear is there won't be much difference. We'll have 1 grocery store instead of 2. We will have fewer shops in the shopping center and fewer retail centers downtown. Now, the exception to that is if we move from a reactive council to a proactive council, one that begins to address the problems that are facing our community. And it is not just the Great Recession that has impacted this. There's a structural change in our economy. We have gone, when I first moved here, from a 20,000 retail base of population down to 15,000. That means the people in Galena that used to shop here don't. The people in Centerville that used to come to our grocery stores don't. We don't have a general merchandise store. So if we want to go to buy stuff, we have to leave town in many cases. We have to begin to address this. That's one piece of our problem. We have the situation downtown. We've had 2 development booms and no virtual, in the last 25 years, and no virtual investment downtown. We have to redirect that, so we have to develop a plan and encourage investment. We have to work with our four pillars of support, the hospital, the college, and the private business sector, including our principal employers, plus the agricultural sector. We have to draw strong relationships. These are our four principal supports to our economy, and we have got to develop coordination between those and between the mayor and council. And I will take my 15 seconds and say thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shoge?
This is truly an exciting question because you think of all the possibilities of Chestertown and what it could actually be like in the year 2020. And you kind of see, the renaissance taking place now. You see businesses like JR's, you see businesses like Mimi's Closet, and everybody here, I'm sure, really loves Evergreen. And when you see these businesses and they're growing and turning and transforming into anchors for the entire community. So the future of 2020, it's taking place right now. And so by 2020, my vision for Chestertown is a community that has really developed a very strong and diverse economic base, and the entire community of Chestertown is linked by a network of safe sidewalks and the rails to trails. You look at the residents of downtown and they have access to everything, and everything is within walking distance, but you go up Flatland Road and you notice that there are areas in town that are lacking in infrastructure. And making sure that infrastructure reaches the entire community is just absolutely important. So that's my overall vision for Chestertown in the year 2020. Ways in which, as a community, we're going to get to that. One is working very collaboratively with Washington College. I currently work as an admissions counselor, and my job is to recruit bright and talented students to attend Washington College. And I see the entrepreneurial spirit in these students, and also see how much they love Chestertown as well. So creating an environment that keeps these students here after they graduate and open up businesses is something that is just absolutely important. And making sure that all residents, especially the residents along Flatland Road, have access to everywhere in town, just like our downtown residents as well.
Thank you. Ms. Mumford-Potts?
Okay. Regarding these improvements, we have, at this time, we have a $168,000 grant to complete the project at Gateway Park. We're very, very excited about that. We've already had bids. High Street and Route 514 will have to be addressed as this takes place so that it is a safe way to get to that point. One of the things that will help that will be the rails to trails, and we have also a grant for that. I may have gotten my numbers mixed up, but one is a $168,000 grant, and for the rails to trails is actually $144,000, and we have that money in, and we have the plans in. So that'll be the third phase of the rails to trails. We're extremely happy about that. We have the roundabout, which is apparently the best we can do at not at 514, but at 291 and Route 20. That's used to be called High Street Extended, which, by the way, does go all the way to the bed and breakfast. The Laredo Man is also in my ward. That's the stopping point on High Street. Okay. To talk about some of the good things that we have in Ward 3, we have the Aquafit, something I never, ever expected to have in this town. It's an indoor swimming pool for the public, exercise rooms, doctor's offices. It is constantly utilized, and the parking lot is always full. Of course, we have Washington College. I did have Washington College in my ward at one point. The ward was changed a bit and split. So I, of course, do know all about Washington College and the great things that are on the slate for downtown with waterfront, additional dorms, and environmental programs. And I have to stop, unfortunately.
Thank you. Ms. Gross?
Well, this is a tough question to answer in 2 minutes, but I'm going to have to try. So 2020 is only 7 years away. So realistically, to answer this question, we have to look at things that are already in the planning stages. I see a community that just makes people want to come here as visitors and residents, because it is such an appealing place. We have so many strengths we can build on, and some weaknesses we can improve on. People will only come here to start new businesses and stay here if we can focus like that. So according to the census data, the population of Chestertown grew by more than 1,200 between 1990 and 2010. I see continued modest growth in town. I see us applying the comprehensive plan to permit infill development in the areas that are already available for commercial and housing use in town before we allow any sprawl outside the boundaries of town, annexing areas that would require new services. We need to market Chestertown as a community for a lifetime. The census data also tell us that apart from the college students, that age group, who after all are only here temporarily, the largest demographic in town is the over 65-year-old group. They make up a quarter almost of the population. They require fewer services than a lot of the younger population. They have money to spend, and they like it here. We need to maintain the medical services and support services that an aging population needs to get them to come here. This is a great place to retire. Others have mentioned the need for new recreation facilities. I totally agree. We need them in town. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to question 2. What would be your first priority as a council member, and how will you accomplish this goal? And we'll start with you, Ms. Gross.
That's right, I was last. I shall be first. So I have a thought that we need to be sure that we have an effective town council. We need one with members that are committed to cooperating with each other to get things done, and without that, very little can happen. My first priority for myself as a council member will be to represent the residents of Ward 1 just as effectively as I possibly can. At the same time, I will be rolling up my sleeves to get down to work with the council to get things done here. And it's the synergy that comes from a group of people who are committed together for common goals that really helps things happen. If elected, I promise to let all members of the First Ward know how they can reach me at regular times by email and telephone. I will be available to them. So on the public side of it, my first priority would be to propose that the town council create a regular public forum where the business community and all interested parties could come and openly discuss their concerns. We've all heard that there are rumblings out there that the town doesn't do enough for business. So I made it a point when I decided to run to start going into businesses and talking to the owners about what it is that concerns them. I didn't hear very much consistent or specific, but if there is something there to talk about, let's talk about it. Let's get it out in the open. We have a great group of people here in town known as SCORE. That's a national organization that volunteers its time to advise and help small businesses. Maybe we could get them involved in those discussions, get their ideas out. These discussions should focus not only on downtown, but on uptown and the shopping centers as well. They badly need to be upgraded. There are so many things we can talk about. Let's get some imaginative ideas on the table for our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smolens?
Well, considering the election puts everyone in a fairly unique state of mind, a lot of us think about things that we don't normally address. I think the first thing that we need to look at is Chestertown's election laws. The campaign finance laws, as an example, with local government, with state government, with federal government, when somebody donates money to you, it becomes public, and you know who has. I personally have self-financed. I don't know about the rest of the candidates here or the mayoral candidates, so it's not really a big issue for me. But when you go to vote for somebody, you really want to know, well, who's giving you money? Who's supporting you? You know, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for the community? Are you doing this for someone else? We all want to know who our elected officials are beholden to, and we can keep an eye on the kind of policies that they pass. You know, if there's any kind of a difference of treatment with certain businesses, certain individuals. It's one of those things that is just sort of a pragmatic choice. And everyone seems to be talking about moving Chestertown forward, changing, et cetera, et cetera. One of the other things we need to look at is term limits, so that way we can keep the people in office diverse and ever-changing, just like the community.
Thank you. Mr. Gatto?
I'm going to make a minor differentiation from my report or my speech and echo some of the thoughts there. I think we need to address, I'm self-financed for my candidacy. I'm independent. I think that we do need to make a change, and we talked about this at the council meeting, that we are, my statement I generally make is we're moving from a small town to a small city, and we have to bring all of our regulations and rules and opportunities to that level, a small city. And with that means changing our election laws. One of the key things I have tried to do is service the residents of my ward. From Remembrance Park, I made sure there was 2 public information sessions so that the residents down there could comment on it and get their, make sure that they had their fears addressed and their opportunities addressed. And I will continue that. I have experience in design. I'm bringing that to various projects in the city. But the key element is budget, okay? Redirecting the budget. We have resources. One of the council people used to keep saying, and it was Marty, you know, how can we keep spending money out of this account? Well, I started digging a bit on that. And we have $80,000 in hotel taxes that we collect. It is not targeted, it's gone to general fund, okay? That should be targeted to economic development, targeted to marketing. We have collected over $300,000 in fees from the developments out at Coventry, et cetera. It's a one-time collection. That went to general fund. We need to target our budgetary process to make sure we get the improvements we want and create a capital improvement program to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Shoge?
My first priority is going to be making sure that when you turn your faucet on, water comes out. And safe, drinkable water. You look at the overall budget of Chestertown, and you see that a lot of it goes to delivering services. When you take your trash to the curb, it gets picked up. When you take your recycling bin to the curb, it's gone. Your water is always delivered, your snow is always removed from the streets. That's pretty important, and those little things are what keeps the community running. And as a council and working closely with the town council, I'm going to ensure that those services continue without interruption. It's been a very interesting experience going door to door in Ward 3, introducing myself and really getting to know the residents of Ward 3 in Chestertown. And you know, everybody always likes to talk about taxes, and the tax rate is too high. But I always follow up with a question: how's the service delivery? Are you pleased with the services that the town delivers? And unanimously, people are very pleased with the services that Chestertown provides. Finally, something that the entire community can agree upon. And ensuring that continues is definitely one of my first priorities. It's certainly one of the main objectives of the town council, and those things are what keeps Chestertown running and keeps Chestertown growing.
Thank you. Thank all of you. We'll now open up the meeting, if I can get this out, to questions from the floor. If you have a question, as I mentioned.
Excuse me, but did you...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss you? Please do.
Are you allowed to repeat the question?
Yes. What will be your first priority as a council member, and how will you accomplish this goal?
One of the things I tell everyone who comes to me with a complaint, or even if they're happy about something, I'm only one vote. We have to share, and in order to win, we have 4 council members and a mayor. And we have to gel, and usually we do. I want to tell you a little bit about your town and how we operate on such a bare bones staff, I guess you might say. Our visitor center, believe it or not, brings approximately 15,000 people, 15,000 visitors a year to Chestertown. We must have really something good to show off. Our police department has a chief and 12 officers. We have 3 commissions, and they're all volunteers. They do have to turn in their resumes in order to be able to serve us. We have the Planning Commission, Historic District Commission, the Recreation Commission. We have the Ethics Commission with 7 people. We have a Zoning Commission with 6. Supervisors of Elections 3, Tree Committee 3, and we have other volunteers who serve as Curb Appeal, Garden Club, for all seasons. Something else I want to mention right quick is that when we do good things, sometimes it also has if you're used to living in town like I am, the Rails to Trails takes people off the sidewalks, and we don't get to visit as they go by. Many times someone was, say, from Dixon, who has a short lunch hour, but they like to get their mind off their work, and they go by and we talk for a couple of minutes. They now go to Rails to Trails, so you don't get to see them. That's a negative impact as far as I'm concerned, as far as especially our new residents. We don't get to know them very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse me for missing again. Did I get everybody else? Yeah, okay. We're now going to open it up to questions from the audience. Just please raise your hand and take the microphone.
I'm Colleen Sundstrom from Ward 3. I would like to know, when people talk about economic development, what kind of development do you want to bring to Chestertown? Are you talking about, Walmart or Home Depot or individual businesses? What kind of development are you wanting to pursue?
I'll start. When I was working with economic development, retail jobs were not considered economic development, okay, because it was a one-for-one replacement. They are important in a rural community. We worked with a thing called Chesapeake Country for years. It was a regional economic development base, and it sought to bring small manufacturing and assembly operations. These have all gone to China, okay? So our base for that type of economic growth is pretty much eroded. The one thing we do have industries that are located here, but all of Maryland's programs are targeted to depressed communities. So we can't implement those until we lose the business. And one of the things I've been talking about for the last 6 or 8 months is modifying those programs to work with existing businesses so that we don't have to lose them before we can work. So economic development, in my terms, is the basic 3 items we have, the hospital, the college, agriculture, and the business, the manufacturing and larger employment businesses. That doesn't mean we ignore the retail, but I would put my emphasis there, working with promotion on tourism, because tourism is a very important element. That's me. That's where I'd be looking at.
Anybody else want to take a shot at that?
I actually got to meet my wife's brother for the first time in quite a while. And he had long hair and a shaggy beard. Looked like a ZZ Top cover of the album. And I said, look, what's going on? He works for IBM. And he does a little thing called telecommuting. and he puts on his pajamas and makes a cup of coffee, and he goes to work every morning on his computer making a six-figure salary. Chestertown has a hard time attracting places like Dixon Valva, as an example, just because we're far away from a main thoroughfare like 301. The workforce here maybe is not as skilled as we'd all like. However, with a good internet backbone, we can go through and we can attract tech companies that predominantly telecommute, where it doesn't matter where you live. Those are the people that are going to come here because they like the water, because they like the parks, because they like the feel of a historic town. Secondly, when you look at job creation, again, you've got the jobs like Councilman Gatto talked about, where they're retail, where the people don't make enough to rent an apartment in Chestertown or buy a house in Chestertown. And retail is absolutely essential because it provides jobs for kids, it provides jobs for people who are in college, it provides jobs for people who are looking for work in maybe a field that pays a little bit more. But really, as I was talking about before, retaining the Washington College graduates is going to give us the base that we need to go through and start businesses that allow these white-collar employees to telecommute. And they're the ones that are going to come here, they're going to fill the storefronts, they're going to fill our houses, and they're going to allow us to pay for all of the interesting stuff that everyone's talking about, everything from the marina to sidewalks to playgrounds to the general future of Chestertown.
Anyone else?
I have to say I'm glad that Alex isn't running against me, because I agree with him. I think that one of the things the town needs to do is to do what it can, it's not everything, but to do what it can to encourage the improvement of our internet access in town. There is high-speed, high-quality, and reliable internet access available at the college and at the hospital, and if we could get that throughout town, that would be fabulous. The question asked specifically about box stores. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I am opposed to allowing very large box stores in the Chestertown area, because I think, having seen this in the small town in Texas where my husband is from when we go there, how those stores have killed the downtown. Now, no matter what we think or say in Chestertown, if the market is there, the Queen Anne's County people will allow almost anything to happen there. And if there's a market here for a big box store, it's going to be put up down there. And I'm sorry to say that, but personally I will take a stand against bringing very large box stores to Chestertown. Thank you.
If you look at the overall landscape of the economy, you can see that it's changing quite rapidly, especially with, as everybody is echoing, you have your Walmarts where people are willing to drive out of their way to go to and shop, to save money. You have Amazon that delivers virtually any product you could think of to your doorstep in about 2 days, and very inexpensively as well. So it's hard to compete with juggernauts like that. So in terms of the businesses that I envision coming to Chestertown, they certainly have to be small businesses. They certainly have to be family-oriented businesses, because it is those businesses, they tend to excel in customer service. And having grown up in Chestertown, that's one thing I certainly know about my community. We love to be treated well, we love to be treated friendly, and that's just the overall environment of the entire community. And it's easy to rally around small businesses that have those characteristics. So in terms of the businesses, they should be small, family-oriented, and also niche businesses as well. Again, because it's the overall landscape of, as Alex mentioned, being far away from the highway, not having airport accessibility, it kind of limits what you can do. But I see the success of a lot of the small businesses that we currently have in Chestertown, and I can certainly see Washington College, or see Chestertown attracting more businesses, by working on its human capital development, and that is with the college students. That is also with our high school students who participate in some of the business classes at the high school. We have what it takes in the community to get these people the resources that they need to start their own business.
Okay, I would like to talk about same thing that Mr. Smolin discussed, and that is the in-home opportunity to work from home for a well-paying company or companies. We are close. I checked today to see how close. It seems that the county has the connections and we do not, and we've got to really get on this and see that we have the fast internet that we need for people to work from home or bring businesses in here for that purpose. The other thing that we need also along the line of employment is for the unskilled. We need something else besides a factory of machinists and that type of employment, because not everybody wants to do that. Our artworks downtown is really flourishing. That's a great thing. So we need something in between now to fill in the spaces. And hopefully the council and the town manager, mayor, and so forth will all work toward these improvements that we need.
Thank you. I think that gives everybody a chance. Did I miss somebody who wants to speak? Okay, any other questions down here?
Please stand and identify yourself. I'm Linda Kuiper. I'm a candidate for mayor. And I ask this to Mr. Shogay first because you're on the Planning Commission, and then anyone else who wants to respond. On the Chestertown bypass, on the High Street Extended Route 20 side, there are 2 properties for sale. At the other end, there's 1 property for sale, and on the High Street side, there's 1 property that the owners of the property want to develop but have been stopped by the Planning Commission. Now, because of the zoning of those 3 properties that are for sale, are you willing, as being a member of the Planning Commission, to zone that property that will maximize the sale potential of those properties to be developed? And if so, what tax rate do you think you can lower a tax rate to?
So you're referring to Morgan Neck Road, correct?
291.
Okay. In terms of the overall zoning issue, that's something collectively as a commission we would certainly decide. Posing that question to me as an individual is certainly interesting, because as an individual, I certainly can't make that decision alone. In the overall general conversation with the Planning Commission, depending on how, we see the situation, it's certainly something that could be looked into. In terms of the overall business and what's appropriate to go there, there are a lot of things that need to be considered, and that's the overall goal of the Planning Commission. And in terms of the overall tax rate question, it's a good one, and it's just something that I simply don't have the answer to at the moment.
Anybody else want to take a chance at that?
I'll take a swag at it. When the problem that is being faced by that property owner and other property owners is, and it's not just the Planning Commission. I served on the Planning Commission and chairman for 6 years or 5 years as chairman of the Planning Commission before I got the job, if you call it a job, on council person. It's the development process that we have to clear up. The zoning ordinance has impediments to a clear, concise approach. Investors don't like ambiguity. They want a clear, precise answer. Yes, I can. No, I can't. They don't want to say maybe, possibly. It's impossible. Downtown, you go to develop anything downtown, you cannot get a clear, concise answer because there's parking requirements. What do you do about parking requirements? Our zoning ordinance was rooted in the 1960s when downtowns were out of date, and it's designed to tear buildings down and put parking lots up to support the buildings that are there. We've rooted out most of that, but we still have to root out the other part. Every site should be, and every developer should be given clear, concise answers. Yes, no, here's what you can do to make it work. We can't do that. That's the biggest problem I have had a number of developers, a number of investors come to me with, is a lack of clarity on developing in Chestertown, both on the Planning Commission and as councilperson.
As a small business owner, one of the things that I hate to hear the most, either from my own, either from myself or from someone else, is I don't know. I don't know tells me that I'm going to question if I'm going to spend my money there. I'm going to question if I'm going to add employees. I'm going to question if opening a bigger storefront's the right decision. In the case of Linda's question on taxes, the only real way to lower our tax rate is to attract more businesses, get more homeowners, and generally bring more people here. Planning and zoning is something that we have to look at collectively as a council and try and make it more friendly to the private property owners here that want to sell their property, that want to put something there, that want to do something to generate revenue. We can't look at it as losing open green space. We need to look at it as a way to generate revenue and pay for things like the marina, like the sidewalk expansions, like better schools. Enjoy the fact that we don't have vacant homes on our streets anymore. There are so many positives that go along with commercial development, business development, and filling, and even going so far as to fill the existing storefronts before we look really hard at expanding. You know, all of those things have to go hand in hand for us to be able to move forward. And without this kind of development, without this kind of accommodation from the Planning Commission and from the Council, it honestly worries me as a business owner, and I would think likewise it would worry anyone who was looking really hard at opening a business here, investing their money, and trying to get people to move here to work for them.
Ms. Gross?
Yeah, I think Ms. Kuiper's question raised at least two and possibly three different topics, but I wasn't quite clear on how they were. First, she mentioned the bypass, which I do think we need to keep very much on the table. There's an awful lot of heavy traffic on Maple Avenue and Washington Avenue, and I know because I commute north on 213 once a week at least to the University of Delaware, that a lot of that heavy traffic does not stop in town, it's passing through. The wear and tear on our bridge is unbelievable. Then she raised two specific properties that may or may not be for sale. Of course, they're not in my area. I can't possibly comment on specifics relating to those properties without seeing much more information than we have available here. And then she asked about the tax rate. Our tax rate in Chestertown has been virtually stable for 20 years. The method in which it was assessed was changed, but the actual amount to property owners didn't really change. It went up a couple of cents, it went down a cent, but it has been very stable. People here have commented that we don't have a fund for capital improvement. We do, actually. This town has had good financial management, and it has a healthy surplus available when needed for emergencies. Until we can be sure that we've got enough money to reach any eventuality, I think we need to be careful about promising to lower the tax rate. Thank you.
Ms. Mumford, pause.
Okay, I'd just like to say, first of all, I hope you all will vote for me to continue with the third ward as the representative for the third ward. However, I would like to say that there's going to be many changes in Chestertown, no matter who is sitting on the council or whoever is the mayor. All of the downtown waterfront, as you all know and have read, it's all going to change. It's going to change drastically. The Armory building will be active and all throughout the waterfront. The police department will eventually have to move. It'll be forced to move because of the relocation and the way that the road will change the direction toward Quaker Neck Landing down at that end. All of High Street will change. I have houses now in my ward that will be coming, they will actually come down. They're inhabitable, I believe is the correct word. However, we have plenty of rentals for low income, medium income, and high income. We have homes for sale that people will come in here and buy. You must have a vision. And there's two properties on High Street. They have minor problems, I believe, with whatever happens under the earth. But that also, someone with enough money will come in and purchase that land. We just had a house removed on High Street across from the Aquatic Center. Many of you will never even notice that it's gone unless I brought it to your attention. And it's great that it is gone because it was beyond repair. I'm not a person that really wants to see a property taken down because it's like having your tooth pulled. But as I say, no matter who is serving on the council, you are going to see many, many changes, and they're in the process right now, and it'll be soon, and you just won't believe how fast it did happen.
Questions?
Stand and identify yourself. You have to.
Okay then. I'm Muriel Cole. I live in Ward 1, and I'm on the Kent County Commission on Aging, and I'm also the Eastern Shore representative for the State Commission on Aging. So I spent some time thinking about senior issues, and I've been dismayed that in this campaign I've heard very little, with the exception of one candidate tonight, who talked about the number of older adults here in Chestertown. We all hope to attract young people. We need economic development. We want new businesses. But I would like to ask any of the candidates if they've thought about the need for us to maintain and strengthen a senior-friendly community here in Chestertown. And if you've had a chance to think about it, is there anything that you think of that can be done to help us become more senior-friendly?
Oh, okay. One of the interesting things about the senior population here is that I wouldn't say the most of, but a good majority of them move here from larger cities, Philadelphia, Baltimore, D.C., New York. When they move to Chestertown, they're usually accustomed to a certain level of service. They're accustomed to having certain goods available to them at certain times. I think one of the biggest things that we can do here to go through and fill a lot of the more expensive property, as well as take care of the seniors that we have, is be able to provide them with similar levels of goods and similar levels of services at similar time frames. I was open on Labor Day, and I had people come in looking for toner for a laser jet on Labor Day, and I had to sort of shrug my shoulders and send them to Dover because there was no one here that was open that did that. When people want to go out to dinner, it's not always up until 7 or 8 p.m. Sometimes people want to have dinner, 9, 10 o'clock because they went to see a movie or they went to see a show at the Garfield. The local businesses need to be able to provide the kinds of goods and services that these people want if we expect them to move here.
Ms. Pats?
I'd just like to mention that Chesapeake College just had a workshop this week on the elderly or the senior citizen. And I sneaked off and didn't tell any of my family where I was because, it's time is of the essence when you're running for office. But it was so important to me to find out what was new and what it's all about, and of course the insurance needs that so many people are facing right now as well. One of the things I really did learn about is the over 55 population, or the housing, is really not built for senior citizens. Can you believe that? It's just it's just a location where if you don't want to be bothered with younger people, or you want to tell your grandchildren they can only stay a week, I guess, or something like that, well, then you've got a good excuse. But it showed the housing, it showed how it's built right at ground level, how to get in. It's built in such a way that you don't have stairs. The bathtub and all of the things for the bathroom I already knew about. However, there was also about the grab bars that are now that you can have them as decorations within your home, and nobody really knows they're grab bars. There was just so many great things in this workshop for people. And Chesapeake is a half hour from here. It's not hard to get to, and I think it was well attended. We have a group of gals that I worked with at Washington College. We're called the Red Hatters. And believe it or not, we didn't have a plan to be there, but there was all of our Red Hatters together, learning more. We never stop, and then we can bring those ideas back to all of you.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I think there's two elements to our senior population. One is the service element, in place in a current home, providing service. Those would have limited mobility and those would have total mobility. I think we have to continue to nurture the programs Muriel was talking about from a public sector as well as a private sector. We also need to provide for the physical changes. Assisted living center. We have no we do not have it, I can't say we don't have assisted living, but we should explore the possibility of additional assisted living, physical entity for people outside of Heron Point. We should explore the possibility of 55-person or older housing. I've actually talked to a couple of developers from my previous life. I often go back to that to help me learn what I've got to make decisions here and what we need to do to attract that type of investment. We have to actively pursue it because the market has not shown itself by itself. And that means the council has to look at ways to buy land and resell it if that's necessary, ways to support it, ways to modify the zoning to support it, etc. So there are a lot of things we can do for the physical, and there's things we can do for the social, i.e. the non-physical support of elderly. And I think the council is demonstrated its willingness to do the non-structural, but the structural takes a little more time because there's been no plan.
Anybody else? Ms. Grove?
I know from my personal experience that Chestertown is a wonderful place to retire. What brings people here to retire? What makes people stay here in their retirement? Things like access to healthcare facilities, Washington College and the Washington College Academy of Lifelong Learning, which provides stimulating intellectual activities during the academic year. I've taught in that. We go to classes. Access to international and large airports, making travel easy for those who can afford it. There are organizations like Homeports in town that provide services to help seniors stay in their homes. We have to recognize we need to maintain and build all those features of Chestertown that make it a wonderful place to live in as we get older. I think at the same time we need to be realistic. We need to recognize that in Chestertown we are fortunate to live within 75 miles of some of the top medical facilities in the world. We can't expect to have every medical specialty in creation represented here in town because we can get to them easily. But we do need a reliable hospital with basic services, testing services, diagnostic treatments, I meant to say, not to continue with people once they've gotten the expert help they need. We need to make sure that keeps coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments you want to add?
And I certainly want to echo Liz, especially on several points. And one of them is simply allowing our senior citizens to remain in their homes. I think the overall mission of Homeports is absolutely critical, and as a council, supporting that mission should be honestly of utmost importance. Because, you know, one thing that I truly respect about the older demographic of Chestertown is that they've been there and they've done that. And they're bringing such a wealth of information, such a wealth of experiences here to Chestertown. They've run their own businesses, they've run multinational companies, and they're just bringing all of that knowledge here to Chestertown for the community to really capitalize on. And they're also our most active demographic and our most active residents of Chestertown. So, several things are certainly in place, and really making sure that our seniors have access to all of those facilities, like Homeports, like Liz mentioned, like the Academy of Lifelong Learning at Washington College as well. Those are important, and those are things, especially since they're already established, those are things that we as a town council can really build upon and collaborate quite easily with. So, thank you.
Thank you. I was told to make sure that you get out of here by 8:30, so we have time for one more question.
I'm Jay Yerkes. I own a company in town. I grew up in Chestertown. I remember Chestertown as a very small town. You could walk in almost any house and yell, "Miss Daisy, I'm going to get some sugar." That's changing. Chestertown is growing. So some of the questions I have is, I have a double-edged question here that you can answer as one. My wife still laughs at me because I keep my keys in my car when I park it. But I've had 2 bicycles stolen in the past 6 months. You want to attract, on the flip side of the other question you had, you want to attract youth. How will you engage youth in a positive way in town, and how can you increase safety in law enforcement?
General question to anybody? Okay.
The last part of that question is a little complicated. Could you read?
How will you engage youth?
Oh, youth, okay.
You want to take a shot at that first?
I guess
No, not me.
I'll start out here.
Okay.
When we're talking about attracting people, I think we talked about attracting people who would live and work here. We talked a little bit about attracting seniors. Kids invariably come with the younger people who would hopefully be employed by these white-collar jobs. Parenting starts at home, and having parents that care about their children, that teach them the difference between right and wrong, is really where the whole thing starts. From there, you start getting into the school system, providing activities for the children after school, making sure that the teachers, the parents, the counselors are aware of any changes in the student's personality and what they do day to day. We're going to have to go through, and we have a great bocce ball league that I think just started. I found it fun, finding things for kids to do outside of theft, I think is your example there. And, I'm not really picturing, rampaging gangs stealing bicycles or anything, but, things like theft come really from 2 things. You're looking at poverty, and you're looking at lack of constructive activities. The poverty thing can be addressed by providing people with jobs, by making sure that they have enough money where their kid doesn't feel like they have to take your bicycle because they can't afford one. And the second portion of it is going to be going through and making sure the kids have an alternative to that. Make sure the kids can get a job themselves. Maybe they can save up and buy that bike when you're done with it. And going through with law enforcement, the Chestertown Police Force is actually a really nice group of people. I've dealt with the local police on several occasions, and I'm actually about out of time. But basically, allow the police to interact with the youth and know that they're not something that they should be afraid of. That there's an element of safety there for them too.
Yes, Mr. Shoge.
Having worked in the admissions office, I see young people's minds and how open to the world they are. I mean, they're just waiting for one idea. They're waiting for that spark to just really get them going. And I see how active and how engaged these students become once that seed is planted. I've been working in the admissions office for 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's absolutely exciting seeing these students once they have an idea. And I think that's certainly one way that the community, and especially the town council, can engage some of the young people of Kent County. One program that I actually really wanted to create was some type of public service program, especially targeted towards high school age students at Kent County High School. What that program would entail is bringing a small group of students, having them meet with the police chief, having them meet with the fire chief, sit down with the planning commission and the city manager, and learn about all the career opportunities in public service. And that will certainly serve several goals, one of which it will show them a totally different side to Chestertown, and it will open them to the possibility of considering a career in public service. You ask any teenager what they want to do when they grow up, and they oftentimes say an athlete or an actor or an actress. But let's not forget, being a police officer is really cool. Being a firefighter is very cool. And just exposing these high schoolers to the possibilities, especially at that age, I think is something that we can certainly capitalize on.
Anybody else? Ms. Gross?
It's refreshing to hear Sam's enthusiasm on this topic. I'm really keen when we have young people like this in town who are engaged and involved. I think it says a lot about the future. I think the one thing we could do to engage the youth more, and in fact the population as a whole, is to see more of our policemen and women on the street. We had a police chief who used to make it a habit of walking around town and going into businesses. I didn't know Mr. Coriel, but I used to see him all the time. We lived downtown, and I'd see him going in and out of places, and people knew him, and he talked, and he knew what was going on. I'd like to see our policemen walking more, or riding bikes, getting out of their cars, and getting to know the people in town. Another thing I'd like to see us do is the next time we have a vacancy on the police force, let's work really hard to get some diversity there. We don't currently have a policeman or woman of color on our police force, and I think that's a great shame. Now, in terms of youth engagement, as I said earlier, we need a lot more recreation facilities in town. We have no public playground, no public sports facilities in town for children anywhere. The one playground we had was taken down. We should work with the school board. We have 2 large school fields in town that stand empty almost all the time. I think we should work with them to get them available for public use after hours. That's required in a lot of communities, and it's not here.
Anybody else? Yes.
I'd like to address a little bit of what this lady's just said. We have worked very hard to get a person of color on the police force. We had one person who did get almost through the academy, and then he was coached, trying very hard to see that he could make it, and he did not. This has been going on most of the time since I've been on the council. We had one woman, when I first went on. She was excellent. Something happened. She ended up working with the county and has just recently retired. It was a big loss to Chestertown. We need a woman of any color on the police force. I work for the Baltimore Police Association in Baltimore City. I do know a little bit about police work and how you hire and how you fire. So, but one of the things that I'm most interested in and hasn't been addressed is education. I wanted Chesapeake College classes here in Chestertown, and I don't know what happened that Rock Hall ended up with them, and we were overlooked. It's great for Rock Hall to have the classes, but we need them here. And because a person coming out of high school who needs to be coached before they can be college level certainly could take part in this kind of education, and it would no doubt help with the crime rate and many other things. I am particularly concerned about the young man from the age of 12 to 18. I raised 3 sons myself, and I worked very hard to try to keep everybody on the right track. And they worked hard too.
Thank you. Scott, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
take, one of the items mentioned was a cooperation between the Board of Education and our recreation. We don't have, or have not had good cooperation. I grew up in Baltimore County, where virtually the entire horizontal, I'll call it, the grounds were turned over to the public sector before and after the school hours. Great programs for every age group were offered. We have these grounds in our town in strategic locations at Garnett and at the middle school. There is no reason that we can't develop co-share use of these parks. We have new administration now at the Board of Education. She has been approached. She is very open-minded to this idea, and we have to continue to pursue it. And it is one of the ways to address the problem of youth having too much time and no activities. And I think we have to continue that. You know, we tend to focus on the elderly sometimes and forget the kids. I live over in Byford, and we've got a couple of new houses with kids, and the parents said, "I hope they're not bothering you." And I said, "No, it's refreshing to have young voices again in the neighborhood." And I think we have to, that's an area we really need to take a look at, because we're so focused with the other end of the scale and not the kids.
Thank you. We'll now go into the closing statements, and we'll use the same rotation that we were using before. Ms. Mumford Potts, would you like to lead off?
I just like to thank everybody for coming. I see many familiar faces. I hope I see more familiar faces at the polls on Tuesday, November 5, and please vote for me. I'll represent you for the next 4 years, the same as I have in the past.
Ms. Gross?
Thank you. You know, there is an ancient Chinese proverb that goes something like this: if we don't change our direction, we're likely to get to where we were headed in the first place. This election represents a special opportunity to bring change and new experience to the town council. We have a mayor's seat becoming vacant, and we have 2 positions on the town council open for election. So beginning in 2014, we could have a really different town council. I can't promise to bring youth to the council like Sam can, but I can promise that I will be a member who is committed to the interests not only of the First Ward, but to all of town. If I'm lucky to get elected, I'm excited and eager to get to work. I think I have the skills needed to cooperate with my fellow council members, working on the complex issues that face us, like the waterfront, which we haven't talked that much about tonight, building our economy, and others. Sometimes we can't get everything we want. Compromise is often necessary. Don't you wish they could learn that in Washington? Wouldn't that be nice? But I think it's equally needed in small places like Chestertown. And remember that all possible solutions to a problem are worthy of consideration. We're all thinking about economic growth or we wouldn't be here. Let's take that as a given. But we have to recognize that Chestertown is not and never will be a major center, as has been said. We are a small town in the smallest county in the state, but small is and can be wonderful. So let's focus on that and what we can do to achieve the aspirations that are set down already in our comprehensive plan, which, as someone said, is under revision. Let's keep that as our guiding light to what we should be doing here. We need to work together to build relationships with the college, with the county commissioners, with the school board, with the hospital, with all the stakeholders in town, so that we're working together. Let's become that community for a lifetime that I mentioned earlier. I love this town. I've decided this is the time for me to get involved. We need to move forward in the 21st century, which is Chestertown's 4th century, after all, and I know I have the skills. I ask for your support. I'd love to have it, but whatever you do, please go and vote on November the 5th.
Mr. Smollins?
I know many of you are on fixed incomes, and every year things get a little bit more expensive. The car you want to buy gets a little bit more expensive. Your cable bill, your cell phone plan gets a little bit more expensive. The same thing is true for town government. Every year, the people who work here cost a little bit more. Repaving the roads costs a little bit more. Bringing you your water costs a little bit more. New equipment for the police force costs a little bit more. The solution to these problems is growing our way out of it. I'm not advocating Walmart, Target, any of the big box stores, but there is no reason why we should have vacancies in the shopping center. There's no reason why we should have vacancies in the commercial district downtown. Attracting new business and new people to live here is the key to living in the Chestertown that I think everybody here wants to live in. And that's one that's well-financed, one where we don't hesitate to add a new sidewalk, add a new playground, make something handicapped accessible that wasn't handicapped accessible before. Attracting those new people here is going to require a similar level of service that they expect in a larger city where they well might be coming from, whether it's the retirees, whether it's the people who hope to telecommute with high-speed internet. They expect certain things to be available to them at certain times, and as a business owner, it's my duty to deliver it, and as council people, it's our duty to make sure that it's available to the citizen. And I guess lastly, we've got to go through and we have to make sure that the town works hard with local business and local residents to address the financial concerns that they do have. We need to retain the businesses that we've got. We can't see any more go. We need to make sure that the residents who stay here, feel like they can afford to stay here and feel like there's something here to stay for. And last but not least, we've got to go through and take a look at our current town projects. Whether it be the sidewalks, the Wi-Fi downtown, the marina. We have a lot of different things in the books that need to be completed that are going to cost money. And the only way to do that is to make sure that all of the homes have a resident, all of the storefronts have a business. And that's the way we grow our way out of a problem. That's it.
Mr. Gato?
When I first got elected, like I said, I was on the Planning Commission. I thought my principal focus was going to be planning and development. And for the first 2 years it was. We tried 3 private consultants to do a zoning ordinance, and we said no eventually. And I put over 100 hours in writing and rewriting the current ordinance. It's not complete, it's not perfect, but it is light years ahead of where we were. I've taken my expertise in design, and I've applied it to various projects in town, attempting to raise the quality. When I was chairman of the Planning Commission, I said I wanted to get developments. We were getting developments with a D quality. I wanted to get them up to a B quality. Now most of them are coming in as a C quality. We still need to give them to B to an A. We provided rewards for those businesses and homeowners that did exceptional development and building. That's still going on. When I started a shift to the budget because we needed to get things done, I noticed things like we didn't have job descriptions for 40 employees. We didn't have pay scales for 40 employees. We do now. I was kind and gentle for 2 years. I was less kind and gentle in the 3rd year, and we got them done. I was told we're a big family until we get sued. These things needed to be in place. We were offering a 4% across the board in the middle of the recession. We were taking money out of reserves to meet that. What do we do next year and the year after? Because we've made that. Okay, we've got a plan now that our employees, we've brought our employees up to a level competitive with other communities in the private sector, public sector. So now we can actually move with and increase their salaries in a competitive format. We need a capital improvement. I disagree with Ms. Gross over there. We need something to tell us what we're going to do in 2014, 2015, and 2016. We have ideas out there, but no commitment of funds and no place to get these funds or put these funds. So there's a lot of work to do to accomplish what we need to, and some of it is very fundamental back in the budget, and others is showpiece stuff that's really nice to get involved with. And we have to do both. We have to keep a lot of things up in the air. The marina is key to our development. We wound up inviting, through Linda and through a letter from the council, the secretary down here, and he was here for a couple hours. And I've got 15 seconds to say, thank you for coming. I would look forward to your vote. Appreciate it.
Mr. Shogay.
A lot of the visions that have been laid out over the course of the evening have been quite optimistic and quite ambitious. And it's certainly true, especially for everybody's 2020 vision of Chestertown. But, you know, I am an optimistic person, and I am an ambitious person as well. And those are two skill sets that are absolutely important in a council member, primarily because you have residents that you are representing. And as a potential Ward 3 council person, my job will be to uplift Ward 3, to bring the table to the community if the community members are unable to come to the table. I see the power of a community that goes all in together on a particular objective, on a particular goal, and things get done, and things get done pretty quickly. So by making sure that the residents of Ward 3 and the residents of Chestertown know that they have a voice, that they know that they are valued members of the Chestertown community, I truly believe that we can do a lot of great things together. And I'm a team player. I work, of course, you know, in a team that's responsible for recruiting students for Washington College. I went to a school that a lot of the classes were focused on group work, on teamwork. So I've spent, and of course, playing athletics all of my life. I understand that one person can't do it alone. One person can't achieve everything that, you know, everybody would like to see happen for Chestertown. It's going to take a lot of collaborative work, and that is the kind of person I am. I am a team player. I am going to work very closely with my fellow council people. I am going to work very closely with the county commissioners. I am going to work very closely with the residents of Ward 3 and the residents of Chestertown to really make Chestertown a truly spectacular place.
Thank you. This concludes our program. I want to, on behalf of the league, I want to thank the candidates for sharing their ideas with us. I think they did a terrific job tonight and deserve a round of applause. Thank you all for coming.